Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Ask the Experts at Microsoft Ignite for Microsoft Edge. So this is where we are here to take your questions about Edge and top reasons why customers love Edge. We are having a little bit of a problem as the video that I have done is not posted quite yet to the Ignite website. However, you can go to aka.ms/edge YouTube in order to see it there while we wait for the website to go ahead and update. So what you can expect from today is all of us here on the call are on the Edge product group team. So we help build out Edge for everyone to use. Most of the folks on this call are enterprise and security focused, and we have some other people as well. Just as a quick reminder how to engage, so use the chat to ask questions. We have folks who are publishing them and who will be answering. We will try to get to as many questions as possible. You can post anonymously or use your name. There might be some questions. I do see one right now that we'll likely have to follow up with after the chat. You know, there's a lot of people that help build this product, so we don't have all of the answers all the time. Upvote your favorite questions using a thumbs up. We will answer the questions either verbally or over chat, and we will provide resources at the end of the slide deck. And what you'll see in the chat oftentimes is links to further documentation for us to read up for yourselves. So the session will be recorded. Please don't record the session yourself. Please don't spam the chat and make sure you adhere to the Microsoft Code of Conduct. I believe the Code of Conduct has been published already in the chat. It's on the Ignite website. Here it is for your review as well. Hopefully you are all familiar. And let's go ahead and get started. So these are the people that are representing Edge on this call. My name is Colleen Williams, and I'm a Principal Program Manager on the Edge team. We've got Steve Rue. Raise your hand, Steve, who's a Principal Program Manager who can answer questions on manageability, identity, and IE mode. We've got Shilpa, who is all things IE mode, so she is your expert in this space. Arnash Chandra, our Program Manager, all things security related. Thank you. Ryan Carter, who is our partner in the Aperture team, but also helps customers in a variety of different areas, including IE mode, app compatibility, that type of thing. We've got Adrian Gouda, who is all things Kiosk Mode, and last but certainly not least, Kyle Flug, who I have worked with for 1,000 years, who is all things dev platform, dev tools, and our favorite topic, Linux. So thank you everyone for joining. And it looks like we've already got some questions here. So just taking a quick look. All right, so we have one here from Greg Wilmer. Shilpa, I'm going to go ahead and send this over to you. When will Edge support IE compatibility without needing IE11 to be installed?
Yes, I'll take that.
As a Windows feature. Go ahead.
No worries. So this is already supported today. As part of the recent OS updates, there should be a policy available to disable standalone IE and have IE mode functional. So you can try that out, and I can paste the KBs in there, but that's already supported today.
Yes, very good. That's a new policy, so please go check it out. You can hide IE11, and that way you can help break that muscle memory for end users to click that IE icon. Next question, I'm going to go ahead, Shilpa. Shilpa's very popular on these calls, by the way, because it's IE mode related. So IE mode, ActiveX, does this work together?
Yes, absolutely. So IE mode supports ActiveX control. So everything that works on IE11 will work in IE mode seamlessly. If you happen to run into issues where this is not the case, feel free to reach out to our Fast Track or our Aperture support programs, and we'll be able to walk you through that.
Don't go anywhere, Shilpa. We've got another question here. Can users set sites to IE mode themselves, or does it have to be set in Intune or via group policy?
That's a great question. And for right now, admins will set the sites that need to open in IE mode for their users. but in the future, we're working on a way to allow this to be done by users. There's a policy that you can enable to allow your users to test if their apps work on IE mode well together. And that I'll put in that policy link as soon as I can find it. But in addition to that, we're also making it easier for your users to get themselves to IE mode while they're waiting for those sites to get added into the site list. And that's coming soon.
Perfect. I'm going to let Shilpa take a little breath, and I'm going to go to Aridash here. We have a conditional access question. So do we have any conditional access policy specific to Edge? Like, we do not want users to use Edge with our corporate account on their personal devices. So can you talk more about CA?
So thanks for that question. Edge comes with a native support for conditional access. So typically what happens is on other browsers, you'll have to deploy a separate extension to handle conditional access policies on your device. The support we have today is for managed device, and Edge requires you to have an corporate credential, a profile linked to your corporate credentials in order to access CA resources. We don't have anything to announce today about unmanaged devices, but that's certainly an area of exploration, and we've heard quite a bit from our customers. So stay tuned for those details later. But today, Edge certainly has a better support for conditional access than any other browser on managed devices today.
Awesome, thank you. Kyle, there's a question here from Adolfo about DNS over HTTPS. So how can manage Edge, and the question just disappeared. So I think you know what the question is, Kyle. So if you could answer it, that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks, Colleen. So the question was, how can my organization manage DNS over HTTPS? For example, I think in this example, as a way to having controls over web filtering. So we actually do have a group policy for this, and I will paste the policy link into the Q&A here, but the policy is DNS over HTTPS mode, so you can control that via group policy. For those who don't know, this is a new feature we rolled out in Edge 88, which allows, basically performs the DNS lookup over a secure connection for more security. But if this is something you want to configure for your organization, you can do so via group policy. So I'll paste that into the answer here.
Awesome, thank you. We have a question from Anonymous here. Is tab sync still in the pipeline? Why, it's not only in the pipeline, it has shipped as of, I believe, build 88. So tab sync is already available. Shilpa, back to you here. If we already have an XML list set up for old Edge compatibility, is it needed to retest, or can we just reuse the existing XML file?
Our recommendation in this case, you can use it, but if you wanted to test the IE mode ones, we do recommend that you test them out. You can certainly use the same list that you have set up, though.
Yes, you've already done the hard work, so go ahead and do that. Ah, Kyle, you knew I was going to call on you here from Rohit. When is Edge expected to hit GA on Linux?
Yes, thank you. Good question. Unfortunately, I can't give you a date. We don't have a forecasted time just yet to share for hitting GA. I will say our focus right now is really in lighting up our #1 customer request, which is enabling users to sign in and sync on Linux devices. So right now, most things work, but things that are tied to signing in with your Microsoft account don't work on Linux. So we're hard at work at that. We expect to have that available in the dev channel pretty soon, and then we'll be able to share more about the roadmap to beta at that point.
Thank you. There's a question about channels. So are there closed channels for testing Edge as for Windows Insider? So what I think you mean by closed is private, and no, we have Canary the Canary build, which is updated daily, the dev build, which is updated weekly, the beta channel, which is updated every 6 weeks, and the stable channel. We have no other channels available. Even internally, that's what we have. We don't have any other channels. So what we have is what you have, and that is what is available. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, Shilpa, back to you. This is an old favorite here. From Dawn, will View and File Explorer option be available in Edge as it was in Ieland? I feel like we should do a video solely on this question, just this one question.
That sounds about right. So if you are wanting to use the Open with File Explorer feature, that works in IE mode. However, we recognize that sometimes that means you'd have to render your entire SharePoint in IE mode. So this is something that we're trying to look into. We don't have any update to share as to whether it will be supported in Edge. But if you are looking to have that functionality working, it does work in IE mode.
Thank you. As like I alluded to earlier, that is very popular. We were not, we were very surprised in how beloved that particular feature is in SharePoint. I think that's the right word to describe that. I have skipped around. I didn't necessarily mean to. So let's see. I'm a fan of Edge. We are too. Thank you so much. I'd like to know when would it be available on Xbox platform. That is a work in progress. No information available at this time. We understand the importance of it, especially with lots of folks working from home and kids being at home. But thanks so much for the question, and thanks for the shout out that Edge is working for you. So we did have a question about Kiosk Mode, and I know Adrian answered it in the chat, but I want to go ahead and just talk about it here. Is new Edge Kiosk public browser supported in MEM, so Microsoft Endpoint Manager? And Adrian, it has been enabled as of today within Intune, so we like to light things up on day one of Ignite, so we're here, that's where we are. So you'll find an option within the Windows or later templates, Kiosk templates, you will find the option Microsoft Edge browser, and we have a lot of documentation on Kiosk Mode in aka.ms/deploy edge. All right. What is the best way to manage Edge updates, Sccm or auto update? Steve, you've been awful quiet, so I'm going to go ahead and call upon you for this particular question.
Sure. So it sounds like a super simple question, but it's a super complicated answer, and that it depends on what works best for your environment and your use cases and what you're optimizing for. In the scenarios where you might have fewer line of business apps that are web-based and things like that, you might be fine with going auto update, having it manage itself, update as updates come. You don't have any real control over when that happens. As we publish updates, the client will use its own logic to determine when it applies to that device and update, right? And so that optimizes for making sure users always have the latest and greatest. They're always getting the newest features as soon as they're available. They're also getting the bug fixes as soon as they're available. But it also minimizes the amount of time that you have necessarily to verify the impact to your particular environment if you have some specific needs to verify that that you need to verify first. And so if you're in one of those environments where you're more locked down and you want to time your updates, let's say you want to have Office and Edge update at the same time so that it minimizes potential impact or perceived impact on the users and how frequently their systems are being touched, then something like Config Manager might be a more appropriate pathway to go down. And so there's not really a right way or a wrong way to do this, other than like not updating would be the wrong way, right? And so as long as you're using a tool and you're keeping up to date and you're getting the latest goodness out there in a way that suits the requirements and whatnot for your organization, that's right. There's not a Microsoft way of this is the one and only right way to do this. I'll add the way that we at Microsoft handle this across all the channels is auto update. We don't manage updates for any user base within the company. Everyone is on auto update, and so that's how we do it. But that doesn't work for everyone, and we recognize that. And so do what's right for you and what makes the most sense for your needs.
Awesome, great. Thank you, Steve. Aaron Ash, we have a question here from Joe. Any way of using Edge as a protected container on a bring your own device? So to allow untrusted devices get web access to OA/Word, Excel on the web, but block the end user download/printing. So that's I think a multi-part question. Maybe you can start with the beginning part of the answer.
Sorry, I missed that question.
Yeah, so any way of using Edge as a protected container on a BYOD, so bring your own device, to allow untrusted devices to get web access to things like OA or Word or Excel, but block the end user download or printing some end user activities.
So this is a great question. This is an area that we are actively thinking about, and we've heard from a lot of customers around the use cases of this, where we can allow a lightweight productivity scenario in a web-based lockdown sessions inside an Edge work profile. We don't have anything that we can announce today, but if you can reach out to us offline, I would be really happy to kind of discuss this scenario a little bit more, understand your use case in particular, and maybe kind of help you help us in the process of understanding this use case a little bit better, so that we can design something meaningful for our customers. So there's nothing that is available today where it can block downloads and printing on an unmanaged device. Certainly there are on a lot of different options on a managed device you can do, but for unmanaged devices, it's an area of great interest and exploration today, and we'd love to kind of partner with you if you are willing to talk to us offline.
Perfect, and I think that leads right into, so Joe, we have 2 roundtables that are solely focused on security in the browser. So Aaron Ash is hosting 2 roundtables, and I think the first one, is it at 3 o'clock today?
That is correct. Thanks for plugging that in.
You bet.
So there is a discussion that we will be having specifically around this concept. So if you're interested, join. I would like to invite to join that round table. I believe it's called PRT 136. I believe 137. PRT 137.
And there's 2, so you can post it in the chat. But would love to hear more. And this is a smaller, pretty intimate grouping, and so we can have some back and forth and ask further questions. So just another way to engage with us specifically on security. So I'm going to go on to Bob. Yeah, I think you were one of the first questions. First of all, I love your last name, Bob. Awesome stuff there on the Williams. So how to get people to shift from thinking like the old IE days where they need to go get a browser. Often the first thing people do is install Chrome, and for our organization, that just doesn't work. So I've been on the browser for a while, and people who have worked with me have heard this very many times, so understand this question. I think we've actually seen quite a shift, and this is where I think IT admins and other folks within the enterprise can help evangelize Edge. And so you likely have multiple browsers in your environment. Your enterprise may only perhaps support one browser, but they allow other browsers. So how can you get people, the end user within the enterprise to really love, Edge? And we have lots of great materials available to the IT admin, email templates. We have customer deployment materials, like I said, email templates and other collateral that can help talk about Edge and the benefit of it. And we are seeing people, shift over. It is a bit of a muscle memory to go install another browser, but we're starting to see that shift of people really, not feeling the need to go get another browser and to stick with a Microsoft browser, preferably Edge, and not necessarily IE11. So it's still very much a work in progress. Love to partner more on that. If somebody could put in the chat the link to the customer materials. Ryan, if you could do that, I think that might be helpful, and you can kind of take a look at what we have there. And we built those based upon customer requests. So if you have more requests for those that type of collateral, please let us know. This question is from Steve. So any plans to force Edge to open a specific URL at startup, but allow users to customize the preference for the remaining tabs, like restoring their prior tabs? We have a lot of work in progress here on end user customization from a tab perspective in the enterprise. I don't know specifically about this particular aspect, but we do hear this a lot from enterprises that to help end users, and the end users are asking for this. The IT admins want to set something, but they want the end user to be able to customize. And so there a lot of work is coming on this, is being done on this, and we'll have more out there, shortly. So thank you so much. Please keep the feedback coming on tab preferences from the end users in your enterprise. That's great. So Adrian answered the question on Kiosk Mode in the chat, but I want to go ahead and just go ahead and bring it up here. So when will Edge Chromium be a part of Kiosk Mode instead of Legacy Edge? So we have enabled Kiosk Mode within Edge Chromium, and we do have a list of features. This is the documentation that I spoke about a little bit earlier. So Adrian was hard at work in writing on this documentation, getting it published. So your Kiosk Mode examples are all there. Is tab sync available in all SKUs or only certain ones? So tab sync is available. This looks like a simple question, but not necessarily. So sync all up from an enterprise perspective. Certain subscriptions are needed. So Azure Active Directory. We have documentation on this, and I'm going to go the sync documentation because that will help you. But there's lots of stuff available. You don't need a certain SKU. But to have more in-depth syncing features available, you do have to have some subscriptions. So we'll go ahead and put a link to the sync documentation in there that will help kind of suss that out, what you need where. I hope that's helpful. If somebody could put that documentation in there, that would be great. Ooh, another Linux question. Kyle has already answered it. No data available at this time. I'm just going to shorten it up. Just going to shorten up the answer there.
Yeah, I will plus one on that answer a little bit to say, I think part of the question was, when will the Canary channel come to Linux? Linux is actually a little unique in that the Chromium project does not ship Canary to Linux. And so we've made the choice to not do that in Edge either, just, intending not to fragment the community or add an extra release target or release cadence on Linux that didn't exist there before. So that's currently not planned.
Yeah. All right. So question from Anonymous. How long will it be before our build 89 moves to stable? I think that is Thursday. We actually have our release schedule is published and is available. Vertical tabs has been very popular. So 89 is coming Thursday. So Steve, I'm going to turn this question over to you. It is Kiosk Mode, but I think it's a little bit more involved. So I'm just going to read out the question. I'm a big fan of Edge so far. I like to read that. That's not the question. I just like to say that out loud for everybody. Can you speak a little about what Kiosk Mode is and if it is available on managed mobile platforms, specifically iOS? Does this have any feature parity with Microsoft Authenticator and the currently in development shared device mode? So I think that's about 3 or 4 questions in one. Maybe just start with the beginning part.
Sure. So our biggest focus has been on the desktop scenarios for bringing the kiosk scenarios to the Edge based on Chromium. There is thinking of what we can do to differentiate and provide similar experiences or improved experiences on the mobile platforms such as iOS, but that is future roadmap conversations that we're still needing to think about internally ourselves and reason over what we can do and what we can bring to the table there. And like I said, our focus right now has really been on getting the desktop experiences lit up and exposed and available for folks to use. As Adrian mentioned, things that it's lit up in some various ways since December and January, and now assigned access is available, and the Intune connection to that will be soon. And so we're really running that experience and going to land that first, and then we'll think more about the other platforms. And after saying all that, I don't remember what the other two questions were, Colleen.
Yeah, they were pretty long there. Let me scroll back up. Does it have any feature parity with Microsoft Authenticator and the currently in development shared device mode? I'm
unfortunately not sure I understand the questions.
Yeah.
Adrian, do they ring similar to you? You're much closer to the space in general than I am. There might be something in there that triggers for you.
We certainly can follow up. If you could provide some more information as to what you're speaking about there, that would be fantastic. We do only have 5 minutes left. I want to say we only had one Ask the Expert last September. However, this time we have two. So we do have a second one. It is at 11:30 p.m. Pacific time. Wherever you are in your time zone, if you're on Australia, I know that time zone works really well for you. So please go ahead and join us there. You'll get to have your same cast of characters from the Edge team to go ahead and speak with, but we have another one there. And we have lots of ways to engage with us. I know we have the Twitter profiles here. That can be a little bit easiest for a lot of us. MS Edge Dev on Twitter as well is a great kind of more, if you have a general question outside of some of these topics, that's a great place. I do have my contact information I've shared through the Ignite website in my profile, so I think that should be available there, but feel free to reach out. We've got a couple of other ways that you can engage with us before this is all, the next 2 days are done and over. All right, I think we have time for one more question. Tim, you asked a great question. I know Ryan answered it, but I do want to talk about the rollback feature. So Tim's question is there a way to revert to a previous version of Edge if a recent build causes an app issue? Yes, rollback. We actually have a video on rollback in our YouTube channel that we published last September. Rollback has been available since October, so you can roll back to a previous version, while whatever is broken gets fixed. So that is available to you. Steve, I'm going to maybe one last question. So this is a kind of a general question, and I think it comes up a bit, kind of Edge configuration options in Intune. So as new Edge features are added, it's hard to tell when those settings can be configured in configuration policy profiles or the settings catalog of Intune. So maybe just kind of the general Intune / Edge partnership and working through there.
Yeah, and so we know there's sometimes a bit of a delay from whenever the ADMX files are available with the latest and greatest in them compared to when those settings are reflected and shown natively in Intune. And so we meet with them regularly, and we're working on aligning our processes and tooling in ways to minimize and ideally eliminate the gap of expecting some policies to exist that may not be showing up in Intune yet. And so that is a known slight gap that we have in terms of how quickly things are available there, and we're working to close that. But I don't have an ETA of when to expect those improvements.
All right, I know I keep saying one last question, truly the last question for Kyle. So this is your elevator pitch here, Kyle. Why is the Linux ecosystem important to Edge brand? And anything you want to talk about coming next with respect to any exciting new releases for partners or customers?
Yeah, so I can't speak for other products on Linux. What I can say is, with the shift to Chromium, one of the most exciting things for us has been reaching platforms that we couldn't reach before, and that now includes Linux. We're especially excited to release for Linux because it's such a popular platform for developers, for test engineers, for browser automation scenarios. So, we've already heard great feedback and seen some great adoption from that community. Obviously, for every user on Linux, we think Edge is a great option, but those are some of the audiences we're most in touch with right now. So yeah, coming
Great.
Up is Sync in the near future.
Perfect. So that is your whirlwind tour of Edge in 30 minutes. We have some resources here, so please make sure you check out additional videos. We published 6 more videos today on ak.ms/edge YouTube. We will have more videos coming over the next few months, but you'll be able to see videos on mobile, Kiosk Mode, PDF, WebView 2, and PWA. Get deployment and app compat assistance through our Edge Fast Track and our Aperture program. So if you need any assistance in deploying Edge in your environment, those teams are ready to go. We have a ton of documentation on ak.ms/deploy Edge. So this is all about deploying and getting Edge ready for your enterprise, deploying group policies, enterprise features like sync, and all sorts of other stuff. And then feel free, if you are a Twitter person, feel free to follow us on Twitter. And thank you so much for everybody's questions today and being involved. And feel free to come to one of our roundtables or the next ATE session later on this evening. Thank you so much.